What is going on? Happy, what is this, Monday? I believe it is Monday. We're kind of going back to back in terms of streams. I thought it was appropriate. We did week 4 yesterday, and now we're into week 5. Stratman Kudzu, welcome, welcome. Doof Money. I don't know what cucumba means, but hey, welcome. Krister, hey, Krister says, I've missed the earlier videos in this series. Well, Krister, you should first go back and watch the earlier videos in this series. Second of all, this challenge seems like it could be something I could take on myself, especially given that I'm currently on vacation. Well, yeah, I think that's the idea, Krister, really, is I'm doing this kind of on stream with you folks in the community, but it is totally something I think designed really for someone to take on their own, a great way to kickstart, jumpstart a new campaign world if you need one. You could even use it on an existing campaign world to probably make a few of the steps like this one slightly easier. But, let's say you were, to use an example, you were doing something in a kind of a Game of Thrones-esque world, and you had already pretty much developed Westeros, but now you needed Esteros. You could use something like this to go in and work on that. But it is totally something I think pretty much designed for an individual to take on by themselves, go through, run through, create your world and go from there. I don't have any notes. I think just overall. I'm not sure if so Tuesday and Wednesday I have work functions I need to attend to in person. It's probably going to at least one stream. I think I might have to, unless I could do it at an odd time. I might lose one, potentially two. I'll probably know a little bit later, so I'll post it in different places so you could check back for that. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. So let's just get down to it. We'll start off with the write-up in the Gygax 75 challenge book. Week 5, the larger world. Round out the setting with some meaningful details. We get a quote from Gygax. Step 5 is something you won't immediately have to worry about, but it is a good idea. Oh my gosh. Well, this is somebody's honking right outside my window. Let me close that. This is, my neighborhood's pretty quiet, but every once in a while you get one of those New York City moments with somebody honking super loud, and I'm on the second floor, so it came right in. Let me try that again. Step 5 is something that you won't immediately have to worry about, but it is a good idea to have a general plan in mind immediately. The general geography of the world should be sketched out. If you plan to make it possible to visit other worlds, times, or places, the general outline of all such areas should also be sketched out. Most of the fine referees I know of work continually on their campaign, adding, changing, and expanding various parts. Hey, Pete Giant. Hey, Terrence. Oh my gosh, that honking. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but it's one of those things. I'm always surprised at stuff my mic doesn't pick up, but it's so loud in my ear that ends up distracting me, even if it's not distracting you. Something tells me some of that did bleed through, and I apologize for that. And this is some, for the working man, is some, I made some Moroccan mint tea yesterday, and then I refrigerated what I didn't drink fresh, and it's really been delicious with some ice. Moroccan mint tea is one of the wonders of the culinary world. And the only unfortunate thing is that if you're going to do it right, it requires quite a bit of mint. I was probably even light on the mint yesterday, so it could be mintier, but it's so easy to do and it's so delicious. All right, now we get on to I guess, so first of all, step 5 encompasses a lot, and it's kind of like, here's stuff you could be doing now and then ongoing. Because obviously, fleshing out the world, fleshing out all this stuff, planar connections, all this is a lot. And like Gygax says, hey, people are continually working on their campaign realms. So this is kind of, if you will, this is sort of week 5 and beyond. Tasks. You made it. At this point, you have everything you need to start playing. Week 5 and beyond is all about having fun. You can do whatever you like this week to help round out the setting, but try to complete at least 3 of the following tasks. I will read out the tasks. Sketch out the geography of the continent or even the whole world. At the very least, jot down a rough idea of what lies to the north, south, east, and west of the area you have drawn. Outline other worlds or planes the characters could visit and identify a few places, items, or spells that will transport them there. Develop a pantheon of gods and powers. Steal liberally and avoid the trap of making gods with nicely aligned domains. Poseidon was the god of the sea, but also the horses, also the god of horses. And I think he had a connection to earthquakes as well. Create some high-level non-player characters and villains, including their DNA, which is, I think, what desires, needs, and something. Or was D desires? Was it desires, needs? I can't remember. We can go back and look at that because it was in week 4. Create a calendar with festivals and other important dates. Generate some events and rumors from other lands the characters might hear. Create more magical relics of the world and short history, including where they were last seen and who or what owned them. Make encounter tables for each of the terrains present in your hex map or the nearby lands. Develop a rival company of adventurers or mercenaries who will cross paths with the player characters. Seed the map with unusual features, a valley of hot springs, weathered spires that look like giants, a festering swamp. Treat each place as a character. D, what is unique about their appearance? N, what is scary? Or, I think what is scary? What do people who live there or visit most need? Oh, maybe no, what is scarce? That's interesting, because what is scary? No, I think it's what is scarce from the context. What is scarce? What do people who live there or visit most need? A, what does itself want and or how does it behave? An example, the blood marsh is filled with sweet-smelling, sticky red flowers. Visitors should bring clean water and bug repellent. The marsh wants to swallow up intruders and occasionally belches forth harmful things of the past. And then finally, make a list of system tweaks or house rules that relate to your setting. So there's a lot here, and a lot of these are big things. And just to keep in mind, right, so these streams run an hour, more or less, usually more. I don't think I ever really run less. I think I don't always manage to get to 60 minutes. Sometimes closing in on 90 minutes. But there's no way we're going to be able to do a bunch of these today because they're bigger goals. And of course, ideally, you're supposed to be taking a week to do that, not an hour. But we will handle what we can. I'm just going to minimize this. And look at this. You know, sometimes I'm actually prepared for these streams. And I want to do better. That's one of my goals. Do better by being a little bit more organized. So I actually have all of our tasks in a nice list already plotted out. But before we get to there, I think it's always good. And I also, look at this. Ooh, all the weeks laid out. Bum, bum, bum. So it's I was just haphazard before, but I thought I'd organize it. This way we can kind of sweep through week to week. I'm going to go through and we'll go through our weeks. So, Krister, since you're new, and of course other people who may not have watched any or all of these, or now who are with us now, or in the future, I'll just go through what we came up through. I'm going to omit some of the details, but, some of my note cards got munged up. Oh no, I see. It's this arrow that got all kinds of, got crazy overblown. That's fine. What happened here? Oh, I think I did that. Okay. Is there something here? Oh, you know what? Oops. I see what happened. Oh, you know what? I just got to move that out of the way. Move that over here. Somehow those didn't get pulled over. Okay. So in week 1, we came up with our concept, which was an early medieval style world. No plate armor, no established codes of chivalry or feudalism. This world is recovering from the fall of the great lizardman empire and the death of their god king. Speaking of gods, dragons are the gods of lizardmen and are active in the lives of mortals. However, for some reason, they cannot see or manifest through stone. The most numerous species are I should say the most numerous species were, before the fall, various types of lizard folk. I don't know why you want to monkey with that. However, and then humans as far as non-lizard folk. We were thinking there might be a few elves and dwarves that we had discussed whether they originate from other planes or were they offshoots, kind of subspecies, different types of humans, in other words. And then overall, the setting is dark and gritty, and the players will be scrambling to fill in the vacuum left by the self-destruction of the lizardmen. And then our inspiration material was mostly stuff about the Roman Empire, Reign of Fire, Fallout for kind of future, and then swords and sorcery type stuff, and as well as some classic Homer, not Simpson. Then we have our particular play area. Takes place in a corner or one end, say maybe the northeast corner of the Ankle Breaks, which is a mountain range we can see here on this mostly eastern side of the map. We don't have a name for the overall culture, human organization here, the culture of humans here, but we know that the leader lives in a place called Windborne Manor, and there are two towns. The primary town is called Stonegate. Secondary town was called Shade Hill Town, also called Shanton. Our dungeon that we put on the map is called the Glittering Sink. There's a swamp in the southeast corner called the Great Quag. Inside the Great Quag is this, I guess, I don't know what sort of statue, wicker man, some kind of structure, monument that's called the Mire Man, also known locally as the Big Gan. We have a ruined Lizardman watchtower over here, and this river is called the Breakwater, also known as the Cut. We delved into the dungeon, let's see, which we determined was some pits. The entrance to these pits, or where the pits meet the surface, has been, I guess, become populated by a species of sort of, I guess, wyvern locust type creatures. And there's something to do with these pits and the wyvern locusts, their development, because I guess in some kind of natural, I don't know, instinctual maybe. I don't know if wyverns are intelligent or not. We didn't discover if these wyvern locusts are really intelligent or just animal intelligent, kind of insect intelligent. But in any case, they push their, I don't know, their pupa or something into the pit, and basically things feed on them in these pits, and it's just something. The strongest, the ones that make it out of the pits at adolescence, or as their wings develop, are able to escape. Those become adults and join this colony, maybe is a good way to put it. We did a couple of, we did one level. Level 1 we called it treacherous terrain. I think for this point, in terms of what we're doing in this week, in week 5, the particulars is not super important, but maybe the fact that there's this nest of wyvern locusts there. I'm not even sure if that's super important, but it's just more about what we did. So that was week 3. And then in week 4, we did more about Stone Gate. See, we made a little map here in Wataboo. It's got your normal shops. I think the important stuff for maybe an overall overall kind of world building elements are the kind of political factions. The bailiff of Windborne. We decided that the Lord is kind of a bailiff. It's a that runs this area, and there's also a dragon cult, which is some group of these humans that still venerate they hold. They really were some small sect that saw the lizard folk as being more intelligent, more advanced. They want to emulate the lizard folk, and like the lizard folk worship the dragons, so these cult members worship the dragons. We had some places to lose money, put fighting pits, and then a bowling hall. I kind of like the bowling hall better than the fighting pits, but that's not super important from a zoomed out perspective. We did, getting onto pantheons and gods that'll be useful, we did determine that I guess the main god, at least of these people, is a god of stone. It's also the moon, and protection. So we got a god whose domain is moon, stone, and protection. Made sense because stones, with the way that there's something with the dragons, they have issues with stone, and we hadn't figured out whether it was natural stone or it could be cut blocks. I kind of like it being natural stone, something a little bit more rare than you could just put some stones together and just be safe. But the dragons can't see through it. They don't like it. So that in the human's mind, that kind of puts together stone and protection. And the way I'm constructing this is kind of from a human perspective, and humans create the gods. But of course, in a fantasy realm, it could very well be that there is some god who is intervening on humanity's behalf with this. In any case, the sort of domains of this god are stone, then also protection, and then the moon kind of fit in. The moon's made of stone, at least or cheese, you know, but we'll say stone for our purposes. It's also, I think, if we were thinking about the lizard men, maybe they're cold blooded, so they don't like to come out at night. So the moon being a symbol of night, which is when it gets colder, and so the lizard folk are less out and about, which means it's again another symbol of protection. So the one god that we've established for humanity is this stone moon protection. And let's see, was there anything else from this that will help us in our endeavors? Yes, we did also determine that there is a guild that deals in illicit reagents. We were thinking maybe that this is connected to stuff with that wyvern nest, or could be some other stuff out there, but they deal in sort of forbidden things because they're the kind of things that this guild is interested in. As we were thinking about that maybe human magic and the magic that humans practice, and maybe just non-lizard folk practice, and then what I'm calling dragon magic was the magic of the dragons, and the lizard folk are kind of fundamentally different, and that the human forces, they don't want anything to do with dragon magic. Who knows what could happen? Could it bring back the lizard folk? It's certainly connected to the dragons, so they don't want anything to do with it. They're concentrating on this human magic. But there are some underground forces that we sort of put together in this guild that, and also in the cult, that kind of unite or not unite, but maybe connect the dragon cult and these illicit reagent folks, as they're interested for different reasons in dragon magic. And what that means, we don't know, but we've got that. Brian Smith, hey Brian, says the dragon cult will definitely be down with finding some dragon DNA in amber and recreating them in some kind of Jurassic Park-esque show of hubris. Yes, if they yes, if they understood what DNA and all that stuff is, for sure. I mean, if we could do is we could, I'm sure there is some there would definitely be some fantasy equivalent to Jurassic Parking out some dragons. Though dragons are gods. Like I'm not sure that the dragons are dead from whatever apocalypse. Maybe they're sleeping, maybe they were slumbering. I feel like they would survive. Maybe they're weak and they're regaining their strength. Certainly they might want to, if they found some lizard men and they could animate or revivify, to use kind of a 5th edition sort of spell term, or otherwise resurrect some lizard folk, I could see them definitely wanting to do that. Especially if they could do it in kind of, because I'm sure that this cult doesn't really want to be under the thumb. Like they have this image, sort of romantic image of them being on terms with the lizard folk, but I'm sure that they would probably rather be on, if they had to be a hierarchy, that they could bring back the lizard folk and then them be on top, and then maybe the dragons, something like that. But I could see that being something along those lines in a fantasy sense being their goal. Brian Smith says, it'd be like their big old cathedral occupied now by lizard sympathizers raising dinos in attempts to make a dragon. Yeah, or find a dragon, or find something dragon-esque. And they could even look at those wyvern locusts if we want to connect, even make more connections between our local dungeon area and the dragon cult. Maybe one reason why the dragon cult is here is they feel like they can do something with those wyvern locusts that definitely have some draconic sensibilities, even if they're not full on dragons. Now we're on to week 5. I don't have a particular structure for these. We can just tackle them as we see fit. I'm definitely going to be trying to look for the more low-hanging fruit ones, just from hey, we've only got now 40 minutes-ish. So I'm just going to make some boxes and we can see what we got. I'm probably not going to do encounter tables, because that I could spend the whole hour doing encounter tables, which is fun, but maybe not great bang for our buck. Let's see. I feel like this one, we could make the human pantheon. Maybe that'll be one to work on. We've got, I'm not going to worry about names either. So we've got, this is moon, stone, and protection. What do you think some other gods they might do? What kind of maybe birth and harvest. Say birth, death, and harvest. I'm not sure. I mean, I could go look at some classic pantheons to get ideas. I'm just trying to just sort of mock up some general. And it doesn't have to cover everything. You know, what is important to them? You know, birth, death, food, moon, stone, protection. Those are definitely super important. River. And I kind of like, I'm going to go river and earthquakes. Why not? Oh, river, earthquakes, and then mining. The reason why I put rivers, I just thought of rivers. So maybe this culture, we don't know. We don't know if they've seen the ocean. We don't know how far away from the ocean they are, whether they know it or not. But and we could make this water. But something I think about is what cuts through stone, right? If you think about, we already talked about the river that runs through here. They even call it the cut because it cuts through mountain hill on its way to wherever it ends on the way to some potentially far off ocean. So we think about what are the things kind of cut stone. Obviously, mining and things, tools, you're digging, that kind of stuff can do it. And then, but then also earthquakes, something that the earth shakes or the ground shakes, and suddenly there's stones crack, and then water is one. So I thought that might be good. I'm going to add one more. Brian Smith said silence. I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting one. But silence is just kind of I don't know. What would be, I'm not sure. Vibration goes through stone. Yeah, it's true, Brian Smith, but I don't know if they know that. Remember that I'm kind of looking at it from sort of an ancient, I don't know when we determined that you could vibrate stone to break. I'm guessing they're not going to be something that they're aware of. I'm looking for more kind of naturalistic forces. I mean, earthquakes essentially is vibrations. So I think that's kind of covered. I like the idea, though, of like minerals, gold, maybe something like that. I don't know if is there gods. I mean, I know some cultures have gods of kind of money, gods of wealth. Maybe that one. Maybe that one. You know what I'll do here? I'll add music. I can already see that maybe say this one's a minor god. Maybe I'll put, or a lesser, if I'm going to put it in. Put it in kind of your deities and demigods. I know birth, death, and harvest seems pretty major. Maybe I'll take out music and I'll put music as a minor god. And that'll be the last one. Give it a little bit of a pan vibe. Music, mirth, but also chaos. And then, we'll stack love in there. Here we go. And I'll stick family in here. So we've got a couple of greater gods. I could add some more in there, but this is fine for a start. Okay. Anything I'm missing? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 greater gods. If again, I want to go through and put in a bunch of more lesser gods, maybe even break a couple of these up potentially, just because I feel like there should be more lesser gods than greater gods. But remember, this is just a start. Brian Smith says the sun, perhaps they respond to it opposite to the moon, a god but not a friendly one. Oh, that's a good idea. Yep, but that's probably another greater god. I'm thinking the sun's got to be. Sun, fire, war. I gotta move him up. All right, 4 greater gods, 2 lesser gods. I think that's a good start. So we got a lot to cover. So we'll throw that there. Where is our pantheon? There it is. So we got that. Okay. Let's create some high-level non-player characters and villains, including their DNA. That might be interesting. I know we had some. Maybe I'll make this a list. No. I thought there was something else. No. All right, so I'll delete that. Turn this into a list. There we go. And then this is, let's see, what do we call this? Important persons. Terrence says a death god, but not the evil kind, like a god of passage in the afterlife. Interesting. Well, we got birth, death, family, and harvest, but maybe, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I like that idea. I'm going to make it a lesser god. I don't know, I'll call it, no, rivers and, I don't know, what, death, cycle of death? I don't know. And, I don't know, something like that. So I kind of like it. Terrence says your connection spotty. No worries, no worries. Hopefully it's your connection spotty and not my connection spotty. So please let me know if I'm not coming through loud and clear. So here were our NPCs that we had. Oh, we already did these. DNA. So these are more high level. Yeah, some Karen vibes. That's this lesser god I put. I'm not sure what we would call it. That's why I put dying, because we're kind of looking at that sort of passage as opposed to just kind of killing, you know, just death as a thing, but the process of dying. And I like the idea that it could be kind of a boatman type character, but maybe not a skeleton evil kind. So we have we did these NPCs in step 4. So DNA, distinguishing trait, needs an agenda, DNA. We need some more high-level non-player characters and villains. So we got the sheriff. Well, we didn't do the bailiff, so we can do. The bailiff of Windborn. I'm just gonna copy, so I don't have to just repeat there. So we've got distinguishing traits. So the sheriff is overprotective and paranoid, but let's not. We don't want to give those same ones to the bailiff. So I'm just gonna erase these so we're not. I think the bailiff wants to expand out of the safety of the mountains and hills. And I'm going to say he needs, all right, or she, I don't know, whomever. They need intelligence about the surrounding lands. So I'm going to say the bailiff wants to expand. He's not in a silly way. They want to, they're like any kind of, and we haven't determined if there's somebody above the bailiff. I imagine that there is, but we don't know. But the bailiff is on the edge of this area that is, for the most part, not aligned. It's probably easier to do it this way. So just going back to look at our map. We're looking at this map, and this is a GM map. This would not be something the players would have, at least not the way I play. Ryan says, what does a bailiff do? I think of them as kind of a guardian. They're sort of they're sort of the law and order type. Holding the place down. So we see here that the humans are mostly in these hills and kind of mountain area. We have these set as farmland, and I'm guessing that my idea would be that they come out and kind of farm here when they can, and then scuttle everything back. 6 mile hexes, if they have some decent roads, which I think that they do, at least in part, they can be farming here, get stuff in wagons or whatnot, and get back to safety. Maybe they even do it at night, to do everything at night, kind of thing. But that this is the extent. If we were to take this and then draw a political map on top of it, we would mostly the brown areas here plus these farmlands. That would be the extent of things. And then, but I could see certainly someone who's got some. What's the word I'm looking for? They have some, I keep wanting to say aggression, not aggression. They want to get bigger. Presumably, if let's say to the east, or sorry, to the west, there's more humans, more bailiffs, maybe even a lord or something. Someone may look at it and say, and I'm gonna make hay in this world. It's not gonna be back where everything's established. It's gonna be setting out over here. Like, I can expand this way. There's, who knows if there are humans over on this side somewhere, whatever is in these hills or beyond those hills, but I got this whole area that could be mine. Maybe I can make myself my own lord if I'm going to step up and I'm going to rise up the social political ladder. I'm going to have to make hay out here. But how do I do that? Well, of course, send people out to subdue the wilderness, sure. But I need to know what's out there. And at least from what we set up with the sheriff in Stonegate is they're not only are they not enthusiastic for this, they're opposed in their being. We talked about it when we went through and did their DNA, that the sheriff, let's see, I should probably just do this. Over. The sheriff is overprotective and paranoid. They has no desire to go out and increase their area. They want nothing more than to stay safe in the hills. That's where it's safe. It served them well. Who knows what's happening with the dragons? Who knows if the lizard folk are completely gone or what's going on? They could be back tomorrow. Not going to do it. So the bailiff has his own ideas, and that's what they want to do. But they need people to go out and do that. And maybe a lot of this is certainly something I think could play into adventures. If the party said somehow, well, we want to get to the bailiff, or we want to speak with the bailiff, or the bailiff, so we were looking at the last week. Oh, where might they? Maybe there are messages posted outside the bailiff's keep, outside Windborne Manor, job postings, basically. That could be a lot of it. Wanting information, wanting to know what's out there. Maybe the bailiff, because the sheriff is important and they're close, they could be family, it could be brothers or cousins or something. They can't they can't undermine. They can't send their own men out to undermine. Maybe they don't have enough men to really do that because he's not a fool. You don't want to send out a bunch of folk to out there that might not come back when you might need them for protection because you might hope that the lizard folk come back, but maybe you plan that they are going to. So you want to keep your best folks both out of harm's way. You don't want them needlessly going out to get killed, and then maybe politically, you don't feel like you can just send them out. So you're open to to having some other folks do that for you, which again gives something for your party to do, or the players to do. So ambitious, and let's see, ambitious. I'm gonna say, but not reckless, not recklessly ambitious, but they're ambitious. So the Bailiff of Windborn, ambitious but not reckless, and needs intelligence about the surrounding lands, and their agenda is to expand out of the safety of the mountains and hills. Petey Wart, name of the Bailiff. Where does Petey Wart come from, Pete Giant? Is that are you referencing yourself, the Pete and Petey? I'll probably, I'm definitely open to names. So I usually just go to my NPC, my hireling generator, and just generate a bunch of names until I see some I like. But if you got some names for folks, feel free to put them in. Not saying I'll take them all or not, but I don't mind getting some ideas, suggestions. Okay, so we got the Bailiff of Windborn down. Oh, anagram of Wyatt Earp. But Wyatt Earp, unfortunately, sounds a lot better than Petey Wart. Petey Wart. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna use Petey Wart, but not there. Because Petey Wart, I don't know but let's see. What do we call that? The swamp was. So I think we said there was some kind of amphibioids in the Great Quag. So Petey Wart is a perfectly good amphibioid name. There we go. We hadn't actually really talked much about the amphibioids. So we got that going for us. Not a merchant. I don't think the bullywugs or whatever we're calling these amphibioids end up calling them. I think I have to look up bullywug. I don't know if that's under the SRD or not, but we'll come up with some kind of other amphibioid name. We're doing important persons. I just can't see these bullywugs having a merchant going around selling it. Selling stuff. Let's see. I know I already had this. I know I'm probably reusing this, but I kind of like the idea of these people who are wise, but they're slow moving. I think I also said that for the. Oh no, I said indecisive. Yeah, he's not indecisive necessarily. He's wise but slow. What would they need? What do we feel like? What do we think? These amphibioids who are down here in this swamp area, including this brown gooey stuff's also swamp. And there could be more swamp beyond. We have not established how large this swamp is, but just in terms of what's known at first, we've at least have, say, give or take about 24 square, not 24, let's see, 30-ish, 60-ish, 90-ish, like 100 and, I don't know, 125-ish square miles of swamp. Brian Smith says, "Don't go into Yoda territory." No, Yoda. I don't think was Yoda seen as being slow. slow moving, slow to decide. I guess maybe prequels Yoda didn't seem to, but I know I definitely was not. I didn't even think in my brain Yoda. This is not Dagobah. These are not the droids you're looking for. What might they want? Is anything encroaching on the swamp? Let's see. The lizard folk are gone, or at least as far as everybody knows, for the moment. I don't think they want to expand. I think they're kind. I think one of the things. So my idea was that these amphibioids, part of why they're still around is that they didn't align themselves super closely with the lizard folk, and they are a little bit fundamentally different. Reptile bases versus amphibian bases. They kept closer to home. They didn't become overly greedy or ambitious, expanding out. They're much more they keep things themselves, more or less. Let's see. Brian Smith says, I like the idea that they are actually a bit supportive of humans coming back in relation to their weirdo big person statue. Yeah. Oh, I mean, the icon is a person, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a giant toad. It could be the Meyer man, could be kind of anything. It maybe has a vaguely humanoid bent, but then again, these amphibioids are vaguely humanoid as well. So it doesn't have to be that they necessarily are kind of worshiping sort of a man. I think they want security. Maybe they're, so I'm going to say that they don't have a lot of, humanity hasn't really come by them too much. Maybe I would say, given what we know, given what we've established so far, that's going the wrong way. Given what we've established so far, that we established based more or less here, only a couple of people are fiddling, are sort of going out into the wilderness too much. Certainly, the sheriff is not going out a lot. I'm just going to say that, and because of the sheriff, and that he's got the kind of on the ground, more or less control. Yes, he reports back to the bailiff, but he's more or less the day-to-day lead. Let's say they're not sending guys out, soldiers out in there. They're keeping to ground. Probably the furthest they go, because they must, and there's just no way out from all that, is patrolling around, maybe only at night, those farm areas. So if we go back here, if we were to put a dotted line in here, that's one thing I would love if they could add to this, a way for me to draw on top of stuff, because I don't think I can. Can I? No, I think that's going to create a drawing and not let me mark things up. They're not going into these woods. They may not even really be aware in terms of the government, let's say, right? That there's anything even there at all. Let's go back over here. So I'm going to say that is in terms of the powers that are, they either don't know, they probably just don't know it all. They may not know it all. Now, the dragon cult may know, because they are probably skulking out into different places for whatever reasons of their own, and probably the illicit reagent guild knows. They probably know. So these two probably know. And then remember we talked about the leatherwork master being this informant to the sheriff. But let's just say if the leatherwork master knows, he would have reported it. So this information hasn't even, if the dragon cult leader and the dragon cult and illicit guild know, they've been able to keep it close enough to themselves that no, they don't know, or that they haven't let it leak yet. So I'm going to say their agenda is to keep out of human and we'll just say that. So I like the idea that they're not necessarily anti-people. They're not looking out to go on and strike at the humans. But at the same time, they're not looking to help the humans either. I want to say that their whole thing right now is that they've lasted this long. They've seen stuff. They have seen empires rise and fall, and they have remained safe. Why? Because they stayed the heck in their own corner, and they didn't come out. They didn't get wrapped up in dragon magic. Maybe there's even some kind of amphibioid magic. They didn't. They're and now they see humanity potentially rising up. But you know what? They've seen this before. The lizard folk rose up, and look what happened to them. They got too big for their britches. Maybe when they see these few humans coming out and skulking in the woods and coming up to the edge of the swamp, they're thinking, yeah, these guys are on this. These humans, they're on the same track as the lizard folk. Are going to rise up, and they're going to come crashing down. So you know what? We just want to make sure that we are not wrapped up with them when it happens. Maybe it'll even happen sooner rather than later with these crazy humans. So, you keep to your side of the dry land, and we'll stick to our wetland, and we'll meet at the river, kind of thing. Brian Smith says they just catch glimpses of the humans in the night patrolling the edge. It's creepy for those poor toad folk. Yep. But right now the humans aren't there. Though, we could, and this is an interesting situation, because depending on what, and I'm starting to think, I kind of go into this thinking about, well, how does the party interact with these things? Not just what makes for a cool setting, but then like, where are these bits where the party can insert themselves? Because ultimately that's why we're doing this, right? We're doing this for a game where the party players are going to be coming in and sticking their noses into all these people's business. I mean, of course, that's what they're going to do. That's what they should be doing. So I think about, well, how when I'm thinking about possibilities, I want to really work on the ones I feel like open up interesting angles for the party. So here, this character and this culture of amphibioids down there opens up some interesting possibilities, because the party gets wind of certain factors operating. Depending on who they end up being aligned with, these amphibioids could be allies to them, or they could be enemies. If the bailiff wants to expand, and the party is on the bailiff side, well, once they get to that swamp, if the bailiff doesn't stop expanding, that's going to put them in threat with these amphibioids. And of course, machinations, right? Oh, the dragon cult gets wind that the bailiff is starting to expand out. Maybe the dragon cult then goes to these amphibioids who they might have had contact with a few times before, and says, "Hey, this is happening. If you want this to stop, if they're going to be coming after you, maybe you can help us and we can stop them now," kind of thing. So you get all these nice triangles, ways, these different factions, if you will, interacting with each other. So that's another important person that we've got nailed down. Is there anybody else who we want to look at? We got the high priest, got the guild master, got the dragon cult leader, who could be a local one. It's maybe not the global dragon cult leader, but the leader in this neck of the woods. Brian Smith says, gives me the vibe of they keep to themselves in nature trope, usually assigned to Tolkienish elves. Yeah, well, heck, elves aren't the only ones necessarily want to be left alone. And it is a nice twist. These kind of slimy, swampy creatures are in this kind of exalted position of wanting to be one with nature, kind of thing. A nice twist on the trope. They don't have to be, I don't know. Tolkien's elves are far from perfect, but I maybe as idealized as oftentimes those elves are. But certainly in this case, Bufo Alvarius. P Giant, where are you getting these names? What is that? Is that another anagram? Who is that anagram? Bufo Alvarius, an anagram for someone? Brian Smith says maybe a dwarf who thinks they should just keep going deeper into the ground, like a faction of digging in. Yeah, I think if the dwarves are basically, especially if they're kind of offshoot humans, I think it makes sense that the dwarves want to dig in. Though that would be nice in terms of the game, for that to be something. If the party were to say, zooming back here, if the party were to do whatever and decide they wanted to go west and deeper into the mountains, into the real mountain areas, because here we're at the edge, because we have mountains and then foothills. That, yeah, they might run into more of those, whatever we would call the dwarf humans, delver humans, delving humans, delve humans. Should we just write that down? Maybe I'll just put that down. I don't know if that's checking a box necessarily, but we can go outside the We can go outside the tasks. Put a note. You can add this in later. Let's see. I was putting dwarf types. I call this Delverman. I don't know. I mean, if we had a bunch of time, I would iterate on, look up synonyms for delve and dig and come up with some delvemen. Pete the Giant says hallucinogenic toad. Is that what? No. What hallucinogenic toad? That's not. Bufo alvarius is not is a anagram of hallucinogenic toad. Can't be. Can't be, Pete Giant. So what is hallucinogenic toad reference to? Oh, or is that like a species name? I do like doing that too. Is you go and you find names of species and then. So I'm just gonna put that there. I don't know where to put it. What other? Let's see. Where are we at? Oh gosh, we're already at 53 minutes. All right, let's make I'm gonna make a magical. Let's make a couple of magical artifacts and relics. I like to use the titles, and I can't use the titles doing that. So I'm going to call these moonstones. These are rare minerals that that provide some protection from dragon magic. I think we talked about the idea at one point way back in one of the streams. Oh, okay, yeah, I do. Okay, I get it. I got you, Pete John. I sort of where you're coming from. So, Bufo alvarius is named for an hypnotic toad. I kind of like that better than Petey Wart, since I kind of feel like I'm gonna change that up. Maybe we could save Petey Wart. I'm just gonna make a scratch pad. Bufo alvarius, though, Bufo is kind of funny, at least in English, but it seems more serious, and I know folks love to give cartoony names for stuff, especially like, on stream. Some people just, all kinds of games will yell out these kind of goofball names. But I like to give folks names like, hey, they're serious. Like, I don't like, to me, these amphibioids are not like jokes. They're serious. And as much as I kind of dig Petey Wart, I like the more seriousness of, how did I do that? Of Bufo alvarius. It makes him sound certainly more full of himself. Like Petey Wart maybe it gives me some of those prequel Star Wars Lucas vibes, like, let's go to the Gungans and their chief is like bloobdy blah, it's like, you want me to take these people seriously, please treat them seriously. Brian Smith says Petey Wart is a lovable bard who burp sings ballads and jests of the other kingdom's flaws. Yes, he could definitely be the fool in the court of Bufo alvarius. Absolutely. I'll put that note in there. Let me see. Little question mark. Could be. Okay, so I like the idea of the moonstones, which we mentioned way back in one of the early streams when we were first going over the idea, is the fact that you could carry rocks in your pocket to provide protection. And maybe people do, just in terms of it being a cultural thing, but it comes from these actual rare moonstones. Maybe they glow a pale white. Rare pale white glowing minerals. So they kind of remind people of moonlight, and they actually do give some protection. Not a huge protection. It's not something you carry a little stone in your pocket and you're invulnerable from dragon magic. But you could see giving a little +2. Maybe there's different levels. Minor stones +1, greater stones +3. Minor, lesser, greater, something like that. Something you get some extra saves or some protection. So we can see that. Let's see what other things have we got. Fine. P. Giant says, it kind of like names of real life creatures that sound like actual names. I totally agree. And Bufo definitely sounds like someone's name. I should probably move that to the scratch pad, the Delver bin. I can get rid of that. Anything else? Any other ideas we have here? Only got a few minutes left. I think we already have. So seed the map with unusual features. We already have some. We could come up with some other ones, but we already have some, and that would be a good one to do, but we went in another direction. So we got moonstones. What else? We talked about the wyvern locusts. I wonder if there's something kind of locust related. There we go. Let's go to Wikipedia. Let's see. Do we have anything about... Is there anything interesting about locusts? Solitary and gregarious phases. Like, do they have any? Are there some cures? Okay, we know about plagues of locusts. The extinction of the Rocky Mountain locust. Wow. The last specimen was seen alive in Canada in 1902. Interesting. I didn't do that's something you learn every day. Rado C says, makes me wonder why one of the main characters in Teen Wolf was Boof. Well, Teen Wolf's kind of a comedy. So when you go with a comedy, I think you get a little bit, you can get a little bit more leeway. Is there anything good? Okay, so there's foods. Locusts are edible insects. They're considered meat. Anything good? I'm looking for, like, is there any... They don't seem to have any, like, salivas or acids or... What? 5 times more edible protein per unit of fodder. Okay. There's nothing there. Nothing. All right, so that doesn't help us. I mean, we don't need to... I'm not married to, well, we have to have something there. I was just hoping that there'd be something like, oh, the saliva of locusts is known to do this or that. So I could just grab it out, basically. I'll look at some of these. Let's look at some of these locusts, and is there anything... Pheromones? Here we go. What? Okay, so they have a pheromone. That's intriguing for our purposes. A pheromone is secreted. A chemical factor triggers social response. So what might this pheromone do? PJ asking, we lost the thread. I'm looking for something that I'm looking for some material, perhaps a reagent that comes from the locusts. I like the idea that there is a gland that produces a pheromone that can be used for some sorts of spells like, say, Charm Person, something like that. Seems cool. So I'm going to use that. Is pheromone, when it's in their bodies, is it liquid or what? Where does the pheromone come from? Secreted or excreted chemical factor. So there's some kind of gland. Okay. I'm not going to go crazy on the absolute details, but and we still haven't come up with a name for these locusts, but that's okay. Wyvern locust pheromone gland. Pheromones harvested from the glands. I'm going to say it's synthesized into So here's what I got. I've got that the wyvern locust pheromone gland is, and maybe I'm stretching it. I guess it's kind of got magical properties. The pheromones can be synthesized into components for charm or similar spells. So this gives a reason why the illicit agent. Can I move that behind? Does it have to be in front? What is that? Is that the thickness? It's got to be the thickness. Fortunately, I can't. Anyway, so we've got a couple of magic relics, similar. And in the glands, I'm thinking because there's a whole colony nest of these wyvern locusts, that such things are not easy to get to, and then they have to be, I don't know, processed through alchemy, through whatever, to do that, but that they can use. And maybe I haven't looked at the components for a charm spell, but that could be something that we customize in our game. In the game in here, this is what charm spells require, and so you have to get it. That's just a thing in our world, in this world, the world which we haven't yet named, but the fall of the lizard folk empire world. Well, we are basically at time. I don't think I'm going to be able to get too much further in here. If you're a patron or if you're a channel member, you should be able to get access to this. So check around if you'd like to become a patron. You can get access to this in all of its glory, so you can check it out in fine details, even when we're not in the stream. I think this is a good. Of course, there's lots to do, and if I can, and if you could, and if we wanted to, and let me know also. The other thing is, if you want to keep going with this, I do want to do something with it and try to turn it into some kind of finished thingamabob. It's beyond the scope of this. I'm hoping that overall the series, because we're kind of at the end of the series as an organized thing, has just been one example of Gygax 75 challenge. I mean, there's lots more. This is not as complete as most other ones because I'm only spending an hour a week on stream because I'm not doing anything that's not live with you guys. I'm not doing anything. I'm not working on this in my spare time. I just do it on the stream and then I put it aside. I think now when I have time, I'll go back and try to backfill stuff using everything we came up with. So to kind of fill things in and finish it out. But hopefully this is a working idea of, hey, this is something anybody can do. Krister, if you're on vacation, you want to do it, absolutely should do it. PGI says, does it have a sense people can follow the pheromones? Well, the pheromones aren't for people. They're for the wyvern locusts. However, there's something about it. I don't know if people can smell it. I don't think it's important that people can smell it, but it's something that, it has properties that lend itself to charm magic when distilled, applied. A trail. Does it have a trail? I don't know. I suppose it could. I don't think the wyvern locusts are coming over this way. It would be something that would be on my encounter tables, but probably rare. I was gonna make one is some adult of these wyvern locust things coming this way. But it's a great, again something that comes in that would. We come back over to our map here. These adult ones, they can fly. They can certainly get from here over here, and maybe they love them. Maybe maybe the wyvern locusts are like locusts. They're not meat eaters, but man, they're maybe they're munging away on these trees. Chomp 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 chomp. But some of them get over here, and then klaxons ring out, and they're maybe even the current danger. Even more so at this moment than dragons because they're actually physically there. Krister says, I'll probably spend most of vacation building my world through solo play in it. Hey, well, that works too, Krister. I do think if you're interested in this, you should try it at some point. You can just do it on the weekend, and you could probably do it in addition to what you're doing. You don't have to replace one with the other. This stuff works in perfect harmony with any other method. If you go to on Discord, definitely in the New School Revolution Discord. I don't know if Rayotis has his own. I don't know if he's gathering submissions, but I'm sure if you look around, there's people are finishing up. I think I know that the NSR Discord, they I think they're a little bit ahead of me in terms of doing the challenge. So they may be all done. So there's probably a bunch of finished, in quotes, challenges to check out. I really encourage folks to try it, give it a shot. I think it's really well done. It's got some interesting questions. Of course, I would say try to go through it in terms of take your time, do it in the weeks, even if it means that some stuff goes by quickly. I think if you can have the discipline to be kind of patient with it, let these things sit with you for a while and not rush it and just let it be a leisurely process, that would be good. But if you're on vacation and you're like, I have a week to do this, and there are five basically challenges, sure, you could do them in days. But I think that it helps to be able to sit and reflect on stuff rather than burn through it. But that's just me. P. Giant says it seems to produce a fruitful outcome. Yep, I definitely think so. Yeah, so I don't think I have anything else to add. So we did manage to, so like with all these, as I will say, just as a little bit of a caveat, since I'm doing these on stream, some of these, especially some of the bigger challenges, definitely didn't get to everything. Did we answer 3 questions? We might have actually gotten to 3 questions today. Let's see. We got a Pantheon. We got a couple of relics. We have some important persons. So yeah, we did kind of answer 3 questions. Maybe not as much as I would have liked to if I had my druthers. But we got through 3. I know some of the other stuff we did a little bit more in kind of capsule as opposed to in-depth. But that's fine. And now I can go back and, draw a dungeon map for a couple levels of the glittering pits, or whatever we call the glittering sink, and do some other stuff. Oh, Chris has got 3 weeks, so yeah, you do have plenty of time. Ray LC asked, did I ever go on Ray's show for his podcast? I haven't, so he came on here, and I think I forget if he was just going to run the interview on my channel on his podcast. I'd be happy to go on his. I'll probably check up with him and see if he still wants to. That might be something to do. Anyhow, folks, this was the Gygax 75 challenge. Hopefully it you guys found it interesting and fruitful. I know it was a great exercise for me. Hopefully encourage you to do your own Gygax 75 challenges, and if you decide to, then share them here. As usual, I got to hop off, but before I go, if you give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. If you found yourself in here and you're not subscribed, if you feel like subscribing to get alerted on more cool stuff that we do here on the channel, that would also be awesome. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on. And I'll let me switch hands. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.